certified cartels. Can you play drum?
With the Vaisesika with you.
Huh?
Thank you.
No, I don't need it.
Narayanam namaskritya Naram Shaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayam Udiraye
Tato Jayam Udiraye.
We're reading from the Srimad Bhagvatam, first canto, third chapter, text number 29. That's 1-3-29. Janma kuyam bhagavato ya etat kayato nara sayam prater granan bhaktya tutka grama vimuchite. And I'll say the word for word, please repeat. Janma,
Janma,
birth.
birth.
Guhya,
Guhya,
mysterious.
mysterious.
Bhagavataha,
Bhagavataha,
of the Lord.
of the Lord.
Ya,
Ya,
one.
one.
Etat,
Eta,
all these.
all these.
Vrayata,
Eta,
carefully.
carefully.
Naraha,
Naraha,
man. Sayam, evening. Pratha, morning. Granan, recites. Bhaktya, with devotion. Dupragama, from all miseries. Vimuchite, gets relief from. Translation: whoever carefully recites the mysterious appearances of the Lord with devotion in the morning and in the evening gets relief from all miseries of life. Purport: in the Bhagavad-gītā, the Personality of Godhead has declared that anyone who knows the principles of the transcendental birth and activities of the Lord will go back to Godhead after being relieved from this material tabernacle. So simply knowing factually the mysterious ways of the Lord's incarnation in this material world can liberate one from material bondage. Therefore, the birth and activities of the Lord as manifested by Him for the welfare of the people in general are not ordinary. They are mysterious, and only by those who carefully try to go deep into the matter by spiritual devotion is the mystery discovered. Thus one gets liberation from material bondage. It is advised, therefore, that one who simply recites this chapter of Bhagavatam, describing the appearance of the Lord in different incarnations, in sincerity and devotion, can have insight into the birth and activities of the Lord. The very word vimukti, or liberation, indicates that the Lord's birth and activities are all transcendental. Otherwise, simply by reciting them, one could not attain liberation. They are therefore mysterious, and those who do not follow the prescribed regulations of devotional service are not entitled to enter into the mysteries of His births and activities. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we have this word janma, and janma means for those who are in the material world under the modes of material nature, as described by Lord Kapila in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And a soul in this world is forced to take birth because of daivi. It's by divine arrangement. And Prahlad Maharaj says, there's a way in which the soul, because of his association with three modes of material nature, and is obligated to take another birth in this world. And that process goes on until one becomes Krishna conscious. Because as Krishna describes to Arjuna in the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā, that yam vapi smaran bhavam tajatyante kalevaram tam tam iraiti konteya sadatad bhava bhavitaha. That whatever one remembers when he quits this body, that state he or she will attain in the next life. But then in the previous verse, Krishna says, Anta kali chamameva smaran mukta kalevaram yapriya tajam deham siyati paramamgati. That if one yati nasyaka samshayaha, so without a doubt, if one remembers me at the time of death, then one will attain me. In the Gita, Krishna says, Yanti deva vrta devan pitrin yanti pratir vrta bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti mam yanti nopivam. During this lifetime, we have many ways we can give our attention. So Krishna's saying in the Gita, we should be aware of the fact that we're creating our own future, our own future birth, by our association, and because of where we're giving our attention. Yanti, yanti, yanti says you can go, yanti deva, you can go to the devas, you can go to the P3s, and so forth. But the goal of life is not to take another birth in the material world. And so Krishna says in the Gita famously, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tatvata chakva deham punar janma naiti mamiti sorjana. If you're conscious of me, and you know that I'm in a different category. Tattva means a category, because tat is a demonstrative pronoun. It means that. In English, it's the same word, only with an H. And you can say that phone or that tripod. So tattva means it's pointing to a particular category. And Krishna is in a different category than the jiva. Jiva is subjected to material nature, but Krishna is never subjected to the influence of material nature because it emanates from him. He's fully in control of it. So if one understands this, then Krishna says, Takvadeham Gunajanma 90. You don't have to take birth again in this material world because you've become aware of Krishna, you're conscious of Krishna, the Krishna conscious. And the next word is Guyam, which means that, as Prabhupada translates here, it's mysterious. Krishna's birth and activities are mysterious. In the Gita, Krishna says, Raja Vidya Raja Guyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyakshavanamam Dharnyam Susukam Kartamam. Among other things, here he's saying, Raja Vidya Raja Guyam. He used the same word Guyam. That my activities are secret, but how can that be if he's stating them directly in the Bhagavad-gītā? Here's who I am, I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because most people don't read the Bhagavad-gītā. Or if they do, they misinterpret it, and they don't understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Somebody will give a different understanding. For instance, a famous person once said that when Krishna says surrender to me, he doesn't mean surrender to me, he means surrender to the unborn within him, which obfuscates the truth of Krishna being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's no tattva there. And therefore, people miss the point. Therefore, it's Guyam. Now, how is it that, as is mentioned here, if one recites this in the morning and the evening, prayata, carefully, which means you take care to remember Krishna by reciting these verses, Guna, and you should do it with bhaktya, devotion. Then dukkha grama. Dukkha grama means then all your miseries are taken away. And vimuchyate means you get relief from. Dukkha grama, from all miseries, vimuchyate, you get relief. So this means that our miseries are coming from within ourselves. We have three kinds of miseries, according to Lord Chaitanya. He said there's adhyatmic, adhibautic, and adhidaivic miseries. Adhyatmic miseries means miseries that come from our own self, our mind, body. Adhibautic means miseries caused by other living beings, like mosquitoes. And then adhidaivic means that the controllers of nature, they make trouble in the sense that material nature is always changing, and it's sometimes hot, sometimes cold, sometimes it's an earthquake, and so forth. So all these miseries ultimately arise within the mind because it's the way we interact with the material world. Or when we are fully Kṛṣṇa conscious, then we don't experience the world like other people. In the Gita, Krishna says, Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattva. That never at any time does the person who's interacting with the material world, who's Kṛṣṇa conscious, think that I'm doing this or I'm being subjected to something, because he sees that only the external senses are interacting with the objects. And how is it that hearing these verses in the morning and the evening has such an effect? Well, first of all, it's guyam, it's mysterious. But it's stated very clearly throughout the Srimad Bhagvatam that Kṛṣṇa Katha has spiritual potency. Several famous verses, which you all know, I'm sure. Srinvatam Svakata Kṛṣṇa, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Vedyantaksto Hibhadrani, Vidunoti Suritsatam. This is stated by Sutta Goswami. It's in the first canto, second chapter. When you hear Kṛṣṇa Katha, Srinvatam Svakata Kṛṣṇa, Punya Shravana Kirtana, in and of itself, it's creating punya, spiritual punya, by hearing and chanting. That anything is abhadra, inauspicious within the heart, it becomes destroyed by the process of hearing and chanting. But how? Vidhunoti suritsatam, because Krishna is surit. He's the best friend, and he's there in the heart, in the hrit. And when he notices that one is hearing and chanting, he works to help us sort out those things that are good for us, those things that are bad for us, and he helps remove them, like a good friend would do, to come over and help you clean up everything. Krishna's there to help clean up from within the heart. Krishna himself appreciates Kṛṣṇa Katha. So when we put ourselves in an assembly where we're speaking Kṛṣṇa Katha, then it's said in the second verse of the Bhagavatam, Sadhyo Hridyavarudyate Trakriti Vishushushubhishtakshana, that Krishna won't leave the heart of the person who's hearing Kṛṣṇa Katha. Sadhyo Hridyavarudyate, he stays within the heart because he so much appreciates. Of course, Krishna's always there within everyone's heart, but he stays there in a demonstrative way to help us when we hear Kṛṣṇa Katha. And therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is mentioned as Tato Jayam Udiraya. We know from the invocation that we make for Srimad Bhagavatam, Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chayvanotam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraya. Tato Jayam Udiraya. This is our very means of conquest. How would one rise above the material condition? Just by worshipping the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And how will we make progress to the next level, and then the next level, step by step? This is mentioned by Kapila Dev at 3:25-25, when he says that by staying in the association of devotees, you hear the Srimad Bhagvatam. It goes into the ear, enters within the heart, and then he says, step by step, one makes advancement in Krishna consciousness by that process. These are a few introductory remarks, and now let's have some discussion with questions or reflections. Yes?
I liked the verse that you chose very much, Guru Maharaj, because in the beginning, as quoted in the purport, and you mentioned Janma Karma Chame Divyam verse. So I would sometimes think, how can one understand the pastimes of the birth, the pastimes, activities of the Lord? So here it's mentioned that simply by reciting them in the morning and evening. But in the next statement also it says that simply by reciting them one cannot attain liberation. So then I went back and saw that Srila Prabhupada is mentioning reciting with sincerity and devotion, bhakti as you mentioned. So that was very nice. Maybe if you could say more.
Well, maybe it was better before. Call Ramananda Saka. Hare Krishna. Is everyone okay?
Yes.
Are you still here?
Yes.
Okay, Michael. In the Bhagavatam, in the Shastra it said, Vaishnava Mukund Girnam Putam Harikatam Vetam Shravananai Kartavyam Sarpochista Yatapaya. This verse is quoted by Srila Sanatana Goswami in describing the importance of hearing with devotion. So the verse says, Vaishnava Mukund Girnam Putam Harikatam Vetam. If you hear Bhagavat from a non-devotee, how is that possible? Someone who doesn't have devotion. I'll give you an example, an anecdote. From Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj, who was a Babaji, he would chant 24/7. And he would sit in remote places in Mayapur and chant. And near him, people would often perform yajnas like the 7-day recitation of the Bhagavad, because they think it would get notoriety because Babaji Maharaj was nearby and people would equate the two things. So once somebody put on a Bhagavad performance, and afterwards Babaji Maharaj asked one of his followers, he said, please go clean that place with cow dung and Ganges water. And they said, yes, Guru Maharaj, but why? Because they were just reciting Bhagavad. He said, I could not hear any Bhagavad, I only heard rupee, rupee, rupee. Idea behind that is the motivation for speaking Bhagavad is paramount. So one has to hear strictly from those who are pure devotees. Otherwise, the effect is sarpo chishta yatha paya. If a snake slithers in and gets into the milk pail and hangs out there and puts his little nose in, you're not going to want to drink it because probably there's a little drop of some contamination. And so in a similar way, pure devotees, satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti hrikarna rasayana kata. Those who you hear from should be satam. Satam means fully dedicated to Krishna. Not doing it for some profit or adoration, distinction, but speaking out of love for Krishna. Then it has effect. And similarly, the hearer also must have faith. As that last verse in the Rasa Panchadhyaya, there are 5 chapters about the rasa dance, which are glorified by the great devotees. And the last verse says, Vikreditam Braja Vadur cha Vishnu, Shradhanditona Srinuyat Atavarnayadya. Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Pratilabhyakam Amrit Rogam Ashvapahinotyacharini Hira. Which means that when you hear the Lord's pastimes, yes, they're full of all potencies, but you also have to have Shraddha. Shrad is a dual word. Da means where you place something. It's a active verb. And Shrad means the heart. So what is your heart given to in your life? There has to be some context, because those who artificially try to approach, or prematurely try to approach, for instance, Krishna's intimate pastimes with his devotees in Vrindavan, they may mistake them to be ordinary activities, and without context, then they also cannot receive the full benefit. Therefore it says, Shraddhan Vitona Srinuyat. You should hear with faith. It means you have proper context. So this means hear from those who are steeped in bhakti, and that also means that they are Shastra Sunipana. They know the connection of all the Shastric pronouncements, and they know how to present them in such a way that no one loses context and thinks that one can barge into subject matters that one's not qualified for. Another question or a comment? Our phone lines are open. Request that very close.
One of the questions that comes in when we think about is that sincerity also comes in for hearer when he hears first. It will not come in immediately. Like hearing and sincerity goes on. The sincerity increases with time as you hear more. And how do we know that it's really moving up or is it going down? Like I keep thinking that okay, we keep hearing, and is our sincerity increasing or not increasing? Something we keep getting confused with.
What's your definition of sincerity? If you're going to measure something, you have to know what it is, right? What is it?
I should be willing to hear more.
You're willing to hear more. Okay, a willingness to hear more. It could also be called taste. Sincerity, we have to search for within ourselves. There's a sense of coming to know our own purpose. And in the Bhagavad-gītā, in the 3rd chapter, 10th verse, Srila Prabhupada gives a purport in which he says that if somebody is sincere, meaning that they really do want to improve and try to serve Kṛṣṇa better, and they have that desire in their heart, even if at the present time they can't do it fully because of circumstances, so such a person will be successful. Is it 310? Let's see. So how do we know? Well, there's signposts. You know that the process of devotional service starts with Shraddha, or faith, which means you have some appreciation for it, even if you don't know why. For instance, some people are attracted to devotees, and they see people chanting, and they think, oh, that's a good idea, even though they didn't even know what it is. In America, we have a place where we chant, and we interviewed some people up and down the street afterwards, And there was one lady who worked in a shop, and she used to see us come there and chant. And she said, I really don't know what this is, but it's beautiful. And so this is a sense of shraddha, that, oh, this is nice. And then people look for association with devotees, sadhu sangha, because they think, well, it's nice, maybe I can find out more about it. And then from there comes an eagerness to follow what the devotees are doing. That's called bhajana kriya. And then from there comes anartha nivritti, which means a desire to remove any obstacles. If we come to devotional service and we're content with the obstacles, and we think, well, I'm doing something that's contrary to devotional service, but that's okay. That would be antithetical to a sincere idea. But if we're in an arjuna vritti and there are obstacles, and we think, Kṛṣṇa, how do I overcome these obstacles? That's sincere. Because even though we don't know how to do it yet, and even though we're still afflicted by obstacles, we still have a desire that I want to remove these. And this is the spirit that Kṛṣṇa expresses in the Bhagavad-gītā when he says, Api che sutaracharo bhajite mamananyava sadhureva samantavya samyak devasito hisa. Said, if somebody has that conviction in their heart that this is, I'm doing the right thing, even though I'm really bad at it, I know that it's the right thing to do, I'm trying the best I can. And so Kṛṣṇa uses the word sudaracharo, which means they still have some worldliness. Even though you're engaged in devotional service, you know it's the right thing, you still can't do it fully. Kṛṣṇa says, sadhur eva samantavya. He's saying to everybody else, you have to consider that person a sadhu because they're trying, sincerely trying to do it. And then in the next verse he says, Shri Brahmavati Dharmatma Shashvashantim Nagashati Konteya Pratidanihi Name Bhakti Pranashi. Tells Arjuna, you tell everybody, Arjuna. It's not everyone who believes me, but they'll believe my devotion. That such a person who's trying, who's sincere, they will come to the perfect stage very quickly too, because Kṛṣṇa knows the heart, as you're pointing with sincerity. And so, again, I'll read this section. For realization, let's see. What number is that? It's a nice verse though. Thanks for offering that. Here, I should read it to honor all the work you want to give us. He picked out this verse. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga, Krishna consciousness without attachment is by far superior. So, I'll give one more verse because it's spoken by Kṛṣṇa and it's directly about this point. It says, Jata Shrana Makatasu Nirmina Sarvakarmasu Veda Dukatmakam Kamams Pratyagi Kanishvara Toba Jeta Mam Prita Shradha Lorjana Nishchaya Jushamanas Tatam Kamams Dukotarkams Chakariam. This is specifically about those who are sincerely in the process of devotional service, but they feel that they're really bad at it and they can't understand how they're ever going to make the advancement. So Kṛṣṇa says, Jata Shraddha, their faith is awakened. Jata means it's awakened, it's born. Jata Shraddha, it's definitely there, right? Jata Shraddha Matkatasu, and what's a specific faith? Matkata, in my topics. They know that these are transcendental, and everything that we're reading today, if you recite this, yes, you're going to be elevated. Nirvina Sarvakarmasu, they know that Veda Dukatmakam Kayams, that engaging in fruitive activities means things that have nothing to do with Krishna consciousness. They only lead to misery. I know that. I'm clear on that point. Parityage Ganishvara was said, Parityage means they can't give it up. They still attached somewhere and they can't figure out, how am I so sincere but I can't give up these other things? And Krishna says that there's a weakness of heart still. And then he gives encouragement. He says, Suto bhajeta mam prita shraddha nishchaya. He says, you should still remain determined because you should know that you're very dear to me, because you're trying. You're sincerely trying. Suto bhajeta mam prita shraddha nishchaya jushamanam shatam kamam dukadarkam shikayam. And said, don't be too disappointed, Krishna says, that you're not perfect, or that you're really bad at it. Garayan means you can be a little disappointed, but not too disappointed. The Acharyas, commenting on this verse, said, don't get so disappointed and say, well, I can't ever do this, and probably nobody else can either. Maybe Prabhupada, but forget it, everybody else. They're on a lower level, and they'll never make it to the next level. But that's not what the Shastra says, that's not what Krishna says, not even what Prabhupada says. Otherwise, Vyasadeva says in the Vedanta Sutra, if all these verses that are talking to us directly say, make advancement, come to the highest stage, that means you can do it. So nobody can say, I'm permanently unqualified. So we have to do this balance, that even though at a particular stage we feel, oh God, again I have material desires, I thought they were gone by now, and here they are back again. We have to be very determined, Krishna says, dridhavita, to continue on knowing that you will come to the perfect stage. And one of the reasons that it's so difficult is so we don't take it for granted, it meaning devotional service. Because if we make a business of it, and we say, oh, you just chant Hare Krishna, it's very easy, I might as well keep one foot in the material world and one foot in the spiritual world, and since I'm chanting Hare Krishna, it will counteract all the sinful reactions, and I might as well do more, because what's the difference if I clear it up? That's a big offense. That's number 7 in the offenses against the holy name. Don't treat Krishna like some, vending machine. Be sincere, because he knows your heart, and that's between you and Krishna in a closed room. And that's the nectar of devotional services. When you can sit down alone and find one molecule of sincerity that Krishna, I'm good for this. No matter how bad I am at it, I still am faithful to you because you're my everything. Even though I seem like a really bad person, I know that I want you more than anything, or exclusively. I don't even want anything else. I only want you. It's just that I'm really messed up. So if an artha nivriti was a breeze, and we just sail across it in 3 months, 2 years, or even 20 years, we just think, no big deal, I've got this, and I've got the process, I got a pill, I'll just pop it. Krishna makes it really hard, so we understand, whatever you touch in this material world, you buy it. My parents used to tell us when we were kids, when we were on vacation, we'd stop at a rest stop, and there was a gift shop or something, they said, you break anything, you're paying for it out of your allowance. And so the material world is like that also. And Krishna wants us to know, you start looking around, la-di-da-di-da, and dhyayato vishayam pumsam, I'll just meditate on it, maybe I won't touch it. But no, you touched it. Don't go there. Be very careful. And that's why devotees, they realize an artha nivriti is a very, very serious thing, that we have to continue, we have to be okay with the fact that we're not perfect, but we should be aware of the fact that Krishna is perfect, Bhagavat is perfect, and if we continue on the perfect process, we'll also become perfect. And one of the attitudes of a person who's becoming more perfect is that he or she is cautious. You have to be careful. Because the moment I think like, okay, I'm more advanced now, therefore I can take liberties, you just fell down again. So you have to stay on the safe side and always think, I'm not qualified, I'm not liberated, I'm nobody, I'm only the follower as the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant, and I have no qualification whatsoever. And if we stay in that position, we'll realize Krishna's help and our advancement. And it's one reason that devotees even when they do experience their own sincerity and they have experienced Krishna's self, they don't broadcast it because they don't want to wreck it by fame, adoration, distinction. By singing the kirtan. Look at me, look at me, look at me, everybody look at me. Yeah, that's it. So, thank you for your diligence. This is actually a really important process when you look something up, you find it, because then you develop this habit, and also you get a neural pathway to all these shastric things. Mine seems a little dull this morning. That's why I couldn't remember where this verse was. It was at 331. So here's the verse and purport. I think it could be entered into evidence at this point in the trial. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions, is for you, and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy, become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. The injunction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa, is the essence of all Vedic wisdom, and therefore is eternally true without exception. As the Vedas are eternal, so this truth of Kṛṣṇa consciousness is also eternal. One should have firm faith in this injunction without envying the Lord. There are many philosophers who write comments on the Bhagavad-gītā but have no faith in Kṛṣṇa. They will never be liberated from the bondage of fruitive action. But an ordinary man with firm faith in the eternal injunctions of the Lord, even though unable to execute such orders, becomes liberated from the bondage of the law of karma. In the beginning of Kṛṣṇa consciousness, one may not fully discharge the injunctions of the Lord, but because one is not resentful of this principle and works sincerely without consideration of defeat and hopelessness, he will surely be promoted to the stage of pure Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Let's thank Sudhira Prabhu. And I'll just give you two more thoughts on this point from the Shastra, because they're very tasty. In the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagvatam, it said, where are my neural pathways? Satyam Dushati Nam. Satyam, what is it? Let me see. Satyam Dishati Artito Nam Naivartato Yat Puna Artito Yata Swayam Vidate Bhajatam Anichatam Ichapi Danam Nijapada Palavam. Kṛṣṇa speaking. So we definitely want to hear this, right?
Yeah.
Say yes.
Yes.
So Kṛṣṇa says, sometimes people sincerely take to the process of devotional service, but then they get in their mind that I want things, I still want material things. So they start praying to Kṛṣṇa and propitiating him, saying, give me this, give me that. And Kṛṣṇa says in this verse, Satyam Dishati Artito Artino Nunam, they're asking for artha, for wealth, all kinds of things. So he said, Kṛṣṇa says, okay, I'll give it to you, but I'm going to give it to you in such a way that you'll never ask for it again. Because that's Kṛṣṇa's kindness. How do we get out of the box in the first place? We're already materially conditioned, so how do you expect me to ask for something pure if I'm not pure? Well, Kṛṣṇa, don't worry, I'll cover that for you. All you need is one molecule of sincerity. If you get that one molecule, I'll help you if you just keep trying and don't become discouraged. So he says, you may ask for all kinds of stupid things. And Kṛṣṇa says, okay, stupid, we'll give it to you. But I'm going to give it to you in such a way. Actually, he says this, it's paraphrased in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Kṛṣṇa says, according to Kaviraj Goswami, says, he may be a fool to ask for these things, but I'm not a fool. And I know it's good for him, so I'm going to give it, but in such a way he'll never ask for it again. And instead, I'm going to replace it with my lotus feet. Yeah. And Prabhupada uses himself as an example. He'll say, I wanted to create this really big business and use all the assets to preach Kṛṣṇa consciousness. And then he said, Kṛṣṇa dismantled everything. And then he said, I was forced to come to America penniless. And Kṛṣṇa gave me full he said he forced me in that situation to be helpless. Yasyahamana Mahabharat, Yasyahamana Grinnami Harishe Taddanam Shade. Tato Janam Tajant Yasya Swajana Dukkha Dukhitam. Krishna again says, want me to do you a favor? Do you want Krishna to do you a favor?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Wait till you hear the verse then. It says, here's how I do you a favor. I take away everything. And then you're so helpless, everybody turns their back on you. Swajana Dukkha. All your swajana, all your people you thought, are you still with me? No, I gotta go. I gotta play pickleball today. Everyone turns their back on you, and you feel helpless. Like, Krishna, you're the only one. It's like, I told you before. Like, here it is. Take shelter of me. And I'll just tell you a quick story. Giriraj Maharaj tells about how in Bombay there was a young man who was helping Prabhupada translate his books into Marathi. And the young man's father used to come with him because he would get the advantage of meeting Prabhupada. But the young man's father was smoking cigarettes. And very difficult to give that up. I mean, people struggle their whole life. They give it up and then they're still thinking about it 20 years later. They could fall down at any second. It's so addictive. So he was thinking, how to give this up, And he asked Prabhupada once, he said, I can't give it up. I need your special mercy. I need Krishna's special mercy. Prabhupada said, you can get it. But do you understand, when Krishna gives you special mercy, it means he'll make you so miserable that you'll be forced to give it up. He said, do you want the special mercy? Said, no, I'll do it myself. And so that's why Krishna gives us the Sarvadharma Prijita. Think about that verse. He's offering us something no one else can offer. He's saying, I'll absolve you from everything. You just surrender to me. That's the one thing. And so if we say, I'm going to voluntarily do it. I don't want it pried away from my hand, although I'm happy with that also because that's second best. I want to do it willingly. That's when real advancement starts. As when we say, Krishna, I know you said you surrender to me and I'll protect you from everything. So I want to be the first one to volunteer. I'm going to sign the thing. Give me the sheet, I'll sign it. And check the box. And say, that's it. I'm in. And this is it. It's final. I'm not. And that's what initiation is. You come to initiation and you sit down in front of Krishna and your guru and everybody else and you say, enough's enough. I'm going to follow Krishna's instruction just to surrender to him. But you have to keep that. And that's what a devotee means. Devoto means you voted. That's what it is. You voted. You passed your vote. Now don't change your vote. You stay. Just vote. Keep voting for Krishna again. Let's take one more and then we're going to go. I think. I don't know. I just know you're sitting there, so I thought maybe we're done with.
Hare Krishna.
So, Prabhuji, I was just relating to what we were talking about from today's walk also when we met that Prabhuji, Shyam Sundar Prabhu, just the Prabhuji we met doing japa. Yeah. And he was saying that he's underqualified to preach. He was saying that like he might not be able to do it. But Prabhuji said that's the qualification to do it. And I was just relating to what you were saying, that if you have a bit of sincerity in your heart, then Krishna sees that. And I really liked that point. I thought it was very beautiful. And it was the practical representation of what we saw today, so that joined it really well together.
Thank you for bringing that up again. It's a really important point. But just as far as preaching goes, Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gītā that someone teaches this knowledge to other people is the most dear to me. So why do we do sadhana in the first place? We want to be dear to Krishna. So if we find somewhere in the law books that says, oh, listen, there's nobody, and it's coming from Krishna directly, there's nobody more dear to me than the person who preaches Bhagavad-gītā. Then what do? You tool up and you say, like, when can I start? Start today. Say, okay, well, do you know Bhagavad-gītā? well, I know Krishna spoke it. That's enough. Because a lot of people don't even know that. They think it was the unborn within Krishna who spoke it. And so Prabhupada used to make this point demonstratively by pointing to Shyamasundar and Malati's child, Saraswati. She was maybe 3 or 4 years old. And she got the idea of Bhagavad-gītā as it is, and Prabhupada's bent for teaching straightforward Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada noticed her that she would come up to people and she would say, do you know who Krishna is? And either they did or they didn't. If they did, they'd humor her and say, okay, tell me. And if they didn't, they said, who? Who's Krishna? And she would say, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada said, that is preaching. He was emphasizing to us that preaching doesn't mean that you do some fancy footwork. Because some people, you see posters all over Vrindavan. Somebody who's got a pedigree from a family where they learned Sanskrit when they were 5. They've heard Bhagavat from beginning to end. They know all the stories. They can do it in their sleep. When they snore, they're speaking Krishna Katha. And I'm not saying any individual person. I'm saying there are cases in which it's more of a show. And this is a point made by one of the sannyasis who was at Prabhupada's disappearance day. He said, there are lots of people who have become famous spiritualists. Most of them claimed they were God, or their disciples claimed they were God, and they were happy to let that thing go and say, oh, yeah, we're all God, but I'm especially God, probably. So. And they became famous because, as the speaker said, he said Prabhupada made one mistake for getting millions and millions of more disciples. He didn't claim he was God. And so then he pointed out that Prabhupada came and he brought people up like they were children in Krishna consciousness, that he gave the example that Prabhupada in the early days when he met Westerners, one of them, Prabhupada was in a car and somebody gave him a date. And Prabhupada ate half of it and handed it to one of his very new disciples, who then took a bite and tried to hand it back to Prabhupada because he just thought, this is a thing, a sharing thing, right? And he also pointed out that in the early days, the first ashram that ever was, Prabhupada waited in line for the bathroom behind others. Because to be disciples, he didn't assert himself immediately. He just wanted to create an environment where people could become Krishna conscious. And compare that to somebody who blows into town, does a 7-day thing and goes home, and everyone feels a razzle-dazzle effect. But do their lives really change? And so it's vital that, anyway, back to the preaching. If you can just give people as simple as it is, straightforward. For instance, if you don't know the whole Bhagavad-gītā, just be honest and say, I don't know the whole thing, but I do have faith in it, and we can read it together. And that will be just as effective. Because you start a nice little reading group somewhere, and people start to become Krishna conscious. So, I've noticed also, when we first started book distribution in ISV, there were a lot of people that had not read Prabhupada's books yet. At least there were some. Because I remember 3 ladies together, there were the Aishri sisters. At least Kameshri said she hadn't read any of the books. And Risheshri probably had, because she'd already been to our program at our house. And maybe there was a couple other ladies there. But I just remember after our first outing on book distribution, they came back excited. They had sold books. And they said, we're going to start a group to read these because we haven't read them yet, even though we're selling them. And Shru Shru Shro Shradadana Syam Vasudeva Katadruchi Syam Mahatsevayavi Prapunya Tirtana Shevanan. When you do some valuable service to the Acharya, to a pure devotee, then you develop a desire in your heart to hear. So preaching is extremely valuable. Thanks for bringing up that point. And I said
One more
Yes,
point, Prabhu, I
please.
wanted to. You said in the beginning of the class, when we hear Krishna Katha, Krishna stays in our heart in a demonstrative way. And that word demonstrative really stuck with me, so I searched it up, what it truly meant. And I just wanted to share with everyone the definition. So demonstrative, unrestrained in showing feeling, especially those of affection. And I just thought that's such a beautiful word and really encapsulates what you were saying. I really enjoyed that quote. Just wanted to share with everyone else.
We got to send them out. Yeah, demonstrative. He's there with everyone's heart, but no one notices him because they're not interested in hearing from him. They want to. It's like somebody gets divorced and said, "I want to hear from you again," and maybe that person who they divorced still supports them. Maybe sends a check that changes the name of the bank so that they don't even know who it's coming from. And Krishna's, our relationship's kind of like that. We ask for a divorce. I don't want to know anything about God because I kind of want to be God myself. And so he keeps the checks coming, but he's so kind. He makes sure that we don't see it. And we don't have to think of it. And we can come up, he gives us intelligence to come up with theories. Like, all this stuff, all these facilities, fruit tree gives us so many fruits, it feeds the whole universe. It feeds a whole neighborhood. And inside it seeds for a new orchard. That happened by chance. It's like different ways to ignore God. So when we become aware of Krishna and we want him there, then he's always ready to demonstratively appear within our hearts. Thanks for catching that. It's nice. Really nice. Prabhu, please lead us. Tell us our program. More? There's somebody else? Yes, please.
Yes.
We'll be here all day. No problem.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Great to see you.
So, Maharaj, I had a question. You talked about fall down. Could you please expand on that? How could we be more cautious and know that we are having a fall down? I know we talk about advancement and whether we are advancing or not, but...
It's a pretty extreme phrase, fall down.
Okay.
But it's scary. And once, Damodar Prabhu knows this, once at ISV, we used to have Wednesday classes before the pandemic came, and we used to all come in on Wednesday nights too. And I wrote an essay and developed an outline for a class called The Anatomy of a Fall Down. And I got to the Wednesday night class, it was advertised like that. And it was packed. Like most people, don't you have to work? Tonight, there was 3 times more people that are like, oh right, it's the title. I actually changed the title of it later, and I called it How to Make a Comeback.
Right.
And one point is that there's no progress in anything without making comebacks, which means that you fall down from where you were. And that's how you make progress. And Prabhupada writes about that in the light of the Bhagavad. He says that on the path of Krishna consciousness, success is assured, as I already quoted several verses before. He said, fall downs may not be detrimental. They may become the pillars to success. And that's all dependent on attitude. And that's not unknown to the modern world. Every corporate ethos has this idea, fail forward fast. The main point is about how to maintain equilibrium. And I contend that any progress we make in any discipline anywhere has to do with the willingness to make comebacks. And it's in the comebacks, like in a relationship. Let's say you have an argument with whomever. You're in an ashram and somebody brushes their teeth and leaves their toothbrush out and start an argument, or husband and wife, or it could be anywhere. The relationship strengthens when there's a disagreement, and then you do the hard work to talk about it and say, okay, we're going to overcome this by working it out. And then that's how the relationship becomes strong. That's how a community becomes strong. You don't sweep things under the rug. You face whatever anomalies are there and you work on them. And so that's the only way to make advancement from wherever we are, is to be willing to work on things. So you could look at comebacks in every aspect of your life, not just in major periods where I was there and then I wasn't there and then I came back, but even chanting your rounds. You could be very subtle and be aware of the fact that I'm chanting but I'm not listening. That's sort of a drift away from Kṛṣṇa. So what do? Start paying attention. You have to train your mind to come back, attention training, that where do I place my attention? On Kṛṣṇa, on Kṛṣṇa, on Kṛṣṇa, over and over again. So it's really about an attitude of being willing to come back from wherever we've drifted to, because we're going to drift.
Yeah.
One way or another, we're going to drift. And if we become too critical of ourselves, not that we should be critical, but I already mentioned not too critical. And we get to the point where we give up, or if we don't coach other people to try to make comebacks as well. Because in a community, somebody may have a demonstrative fault. And Prabhupada was very forgiving for people, especially if it was sensual. If it was philosophical, he was less forgiving. Because then there's a way that you dig in and you say, no, I have a new philosophy, and Prabhupada said, then do it somewhere else. But if you fell down because it was a sensual problem, there's no problem. I mean, it's a small problem. It's something that you can overcome and you'll be stronger the next time. So, if we have a standard, then we'll know if we came down or not. And that's why it's helpful to also try to keep ourselves on a track where we're trying to reach for the next level and see how we're doing. That kind of goes to your question too. How do you know you're making advancement? Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, you should do a little test of yourself every Ekadashi and say, am I better than on the last Ekadashi?
Wow.
Did I improve? And at least once a year, you should do a full review and say, how am I doing? Or if you're with the family, say, how are we all doing together? With the community, how are we all doing together? And really analyze, because without being introspective, without being self-critical, then it's impossible to make progress. Did that answer your question, or is it more subtle?
No, that's what I mean. I'm very appreciative. I'm really appreciative of your answer, because then it helps us to be authentic to ourselves, rather than, as you mentioned, push things under the rug just because we want to present ourselves in a certain way. So, especially I like the part that when we have disagreements, even in our spiritual life, it helps us to move forward, because then we sort it out and it sort of helps us go deeper, step into the thick of it, and yet if we make a comeback, it deepens our relationship with Kṛṣṇa, and it also deepens our relationship with our spiritual teacher.
Well said. Well recounted. Yeah, there's thesis, antithesis, and synthesis in a philosophical process. So then we have a thesis, we're testing it out, right? This thesis is, you're not your body, you're an eternal servant of Kṛṣṇa. This lifetime you're testing it out. See how, can I realize that I'm not my body? Can I realize my relationship with Kṛṣṇa? And then one can also look at the antithesis, like, well, maybe I am my body, let's test that thing out. Some people get stuck there, but you have to come back to the synthesis and understand how it all works together. Like Queen Devahuti says to Kapila, it seems impossible to extricate my material identity with my spiritual identity. How do you do it? And there will be different periods when we have to look on the spectrum and look at synthesis, and we look at the antithesis, and try to weigh everything out. This is called Siddhanta Vole Chitanakara Alash Iha Hoite Kṛṣṇa Lage Sudrit Manash. Bhagavad Goswami says, don't be lazy and don't shy away from controversy, unless it's just mean-spirited and it's the same thing over and over again. Or even if it is, you should analyze it and not just get emotionally caught up in it. You should find Siddhanta, which means that you should know very clearly what you're doing and what it is that you're after. And then it says, Sananta Balechitana Alash. Alash means lazy. It's like, whatever, everyone else is doing it, I'll just do it too. Don't do that. Figure out why you're doing it. And then Iha, Hoite Kṛṣṇa Lagit Sudrid Manash. If you're able to figure that out, then Sudrid Manash means your mind becomes very determined, because you actually know what you're going for. If it's amorphous, your faith is going to be amorphous also. Your determination is going to be amorphous. But if you know the treasure's there, and you've already been told where to dig for it, and you're very sure that if you can methodically do that, you're going to get the treasure, who's going to stop you? Because we can only stop ourselves. Prabhu, you had a point? Yes, please. I like the Pune program. We just go forever.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I am so feeling fortunate that we have seen each other in ISKCON of Silicon Valley, and then now we are seeing each other at India. Sudhir Madhav, everything looks so familiar from previous days, and I'm feeling very fulfilled and happy that we can again reunite here. And then in that process, what has happened is many other things have got added. Like, had I not come to India, then I would not have met Vrindavan Chand Prabhu, their wife, Deepti Mataji, Bela Mataji, all of our One North residents here. So what it started as separation there, then again when we meeting, okay, yeah, things are going good. I was reflecting, so thank you so much for coming in, and thank you to all disciples of Vaisesika Prabhu here. You are making this connection very sweet. All of you, deep gratitude to all of you to come and be working together, serving together. So thank you very much. I think the point I wanted to comment to Prabhuji on this was, I was reflecting on the purport Srila Prabhupada is writing, and these were the days when it was prior to coming to America from Radha Damodar, the windows by which Prabhupada taking inspiration from Rupa Goswami, and the state of mind of Srila Prabhupada, where he has all the sincerity and he has all the devotion, and he was waiting for the resources and alignment to happen while struggling through all the details. And this is the heart and mind of Prabhupada coming through purports. I was realizing through that the Bhagavad Saptaha people may be appearing to be successful in eyes of Prabhupada, but Prabhupada knew their sincerity. Prabhupada knew that he needed support from many people. So when I was observing from that eyes of how Prabhupada was feeling at that point of time to the Radha Damodar temple, and he got this nugget with him, okay, read in the morning and evening, and then liberation is assured, going to back to Godhead is assured. And Srila Prabhupada in his purport is saying, no, you still have to have sincerity and you have to have devotion. So don't be like a Bhagavad Saptaha kind of. So the mind of Prabhupada, deeper things of what he is feeling. So I was just appreciating those aspects of the struggles Prabhupada going through Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan, and then writing this for benefit of us, because as we have to see our sincerity, that we don't get into the similar the having no resources around is not a big problem, but not having right sincerity is a huge problem. I think that's what I took away from Srila Prabhupada, mind and heart, how he was trying to leave this purpose for us.
brilliant. And in the 25 qualities of a devotee, there's one quality that Rupa Goswami says is essential. All the other ones cannot be there. But if this one's not there and the other 24 are there, those are 26 qualities, so there's no advantage. I mean, there's poetical and there's merciful and so forth. The one quality of sincerity that I'm going to surrender to Krishna, that one's a surrendered soul, that's the one that makes everything else happen. Yasyasti bhakti bhagavati Kṛṣṇa sarvara gunasta prasamasate sudha adava bhaktasya kuto mahaguna anonapinasati dadako vidhi. If you have that, then everything else will gradually manifest. It takes a lot of hard work too, because you can see individually and also in the community what it's daily work. For community members, people come and go. Sometimes people are your friends, sometimes they're not, and you have to, and individually we have good days, bad days, and so forth. So we really do have to keep coming back to this. What's that? Find that element. Like where's Waldo, as Radhika Raman once said, finding that amidst all the other patterns and little animals out there. Like, where's my sincerity? Why did I come here in the first place? And thank you for building a community here in this complex. That's what Lord Chaitanya wanted, as I mentioned last night, that there'd be groups everywhere where everyone could come together and chant Hare Krishna and socialize spiritually to help one another to make advancement. Because it's a hard life. There's so many physical challenges. The robot doesn't work one way or the other. Then there's also emotional challenges. There's financial challenges. Shall we name them all? The list goes on and on. So we have to have a strong support system, and we have to be able to come together. So thank you for creating an oasis for all of us to come into, so we feel that. And we'll figure out how to fly in and out of Pune from now on. Hare Krishna. Dear Srila Prabhupada, Dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmi Sringade. If you so desire, please let us find that molecule of sincerity within our hearts, and please help us to expand it to become our entire reality and universe. Thank you for considering our request. Everyone agrees with this prayer in wholehearted heart. Please say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.